the true history of demon-related suicides. In 2012, a 21-year-old boy in the United States began acting strangely. He said he heard voices that encouraged him to end his own life. His family, worried, sought medical help, but no diagnosis seemed to explain what was happening. Months later, he was found dead, and what intrigued even more was the last thing he wrote. "He is here. He told me to do this." Cases like this are not isolated. Throughout history, reports of people claiming to be tormented by demonic entities before committing suicide have emerged in different cultures and times. But to what extent is this real? Is there any scientific or supernatural explanation for these events? Today, we will explore some of the most frightening cases and possible explanations for this connection between suicide and demonic possessions. Case 1: Historical cases and scary reports. The phenomenon of suicides linked to demonic influences is not recent. Since the Middle Ages, there are records of people who claim to be possessed or tormented by evil spirits before taking their own lives. One of the best-known cases is that of Clara Germanicele, a young South African who in 1906 was allegedly possessed after making a pact with the devil. During the exorcisms, witnesses said that she spoke languages she had never learned and demonstrated superhuman strength. She survived, but spent the rest of her life battling episodes of depression and psychotic outbreaks. Another case occurred in feudal Japan, where stories of Yurei emerged, vengeful spirits that whispered words of despair to those who were emotionally vulnerable. Many of these legends were linked to inexplicable suicides, with the victims reported before dying, having been pressured by voices or dark presences. In modern times, one of the most disturbing accounts happened in 1973, when Teresa Fidalgo, a young Portuguese woman, allegedly appeared on film just moments before a fatal accident. Since then, her story has become an urban legend, associated with mysterious suicides of people who claim to see her figure or receive messages from her before dying. But what is really behind these events? Are they supernatural manifestations, or just poorly understood psychological disturbances? Case 2: Scientific and religious explanations. For science, many of the cases of people who claim to be influenced by demons before committing suicide may be linked to psychiatric disorders. Schizophrenia, deep depression, and dissociative identity disorder are some conditions that can cause auditory and visual hallucinations, as well as a sense of presence that many interpret as something supernatural. A study published in the Journal of Nervous and Mental Disease showed that people who hear voices often report self-destructive commands, something common in cases of paranoid schizophrenia. To doctors, what appears to be an evil entity may simply be a severe symptom of a collapsing mind. On the other hand, the church and occult scholars point out that there are cases that defy any medical explanation. Experienced exorcists report that, in certain possessions, individuals speak unknown languages, demonstrate abnormal strength, and know details of the lives of strangers, signs that cannot be attributed to psychosis alone. Father Gabriele Amorth, one of the most famous exorcists in the Vatican, stated that many people who took their own lives were under demonic influence, especially those who played with occultism, black magic, or made spiritual pacts. So the question remains, is it an extreme psychological phenomenon, or is there really something beyond our understanding? Case 3: Contemporary cases and the influence of culture. In modern times, reports of suicides linked to alleged demonic influences continue to emerge, often driven by digital culture and the psychological impact of horror stories. In 2017, a case that gained notoriety was the game Blue Whale Challenge, an online challenge that encouraged young people to complete increasingly disturbing tasks, culminating in suicide. Some participants claimed to have been haunted by voices and shadows before taking their own lives. Although investigations have pointed to psychological manipulation and online solicitation, some believe that dark forces were involved. Another frightening phenomenon involves the Werther effect, a term used to describe how one person's suicide can lead others to follow the same path, especially when there is a mystical or supernatural component in the story. The case of Elisa Lam, found dead in the reservoir of a hotel in Los Angeles in 2013, is an example. The strange behavior of the young woman in the elevator, recorded on video, generated numerous theories, from psychological disorders to demonic influence. Shortly thereafter, reports of paranormal events at the site increased, and other unexplained deaths occurred in the same building. With the internet spreading tales of hauntings and possessions at a speed never seen before, the question arises, are these demonic influences real, or are we creating a new kind of collective terror where fear becomes real enough to affect people's minds? Case 4: The Power of Suggestion and the Human Mind. The human mind is incredibly sensitive to suggestion, especially when it comes to fear and supernatural beliefs. Studies show that when a person believes they are under the influence of something malignant, their brain can create real physical and psychological symptoms, such as sleep paralysis, hallucinations, and panic attacks. This phenomenon is known as a nocebo effect, the opposite of placebo. By believing that you're being cursed or persecuted, a person can develop real symptoms of terror and despair. This may explain cases such as that of Anneliese Michel, the young German woman who became famous for the audio-recorded exorcism. Anneliese, who suffered from epilepsy and psychiatric disorders, believed she was possessed by demons and even refused medical treatment. His case ended tragically, and to this day there are debates as to whether it was a real demonic influence or mental breakdown intensified by religious beliefs and fear. Another important point is the cultural impact. In societies where belief in the supernatural is strong, there are more reports of possession and suicide attributed to demons. In traditional evangelical and Catholic communities, for example, there are exorcists trained precisely because many people report feeling evil forces trying to influence them. But whether this is only a reflection of the human subconscious or a true spiritual battle, it is still an open question. After all, there are unexplained cases that challenge any psychological or scientific analysis. Case 5. Unexplained cases in the line between the real and the supernatural. Despite the medical and psychological explanations, some cases defy any logic. A famous example occurred in São Tomé das Letras, Brazil, where a young man reported hearing voices and seeing dark shadows before mysteriously disappearing. Days later, his body was found in a cave, and witnesses stated that he was obsessed with spiritual entities before his death. The place, already surrounded by legends about dimensional portals and occult forces, only intensified speculation. Another strange case was reported in the Philippines, where a group of teenagers were playing the Ouija board when one of them started acting strangely, claiming that an entity ordered him to commit suicide. Hours later, he was found lifeless, and friends reported that threatening messages continued to appear on the board even without anyone touching it. Skeptics argue that all of this can be explained by psychiatric disorders and collective hysteria, while those who study the paranormal believe there are forces we do not fully understand. For many religious, suicides linked to demons are not just a myth, but a real reflection of evil forces that take advantage of frail minds. In the end, the question remains, what happens in these cases is only a result of the human mind, or is there something more, something that challenges our understanding of reality? Whether by the influence of mental disorders, by the power of suggestion, or by forces beyond comprehension, accounts of demon-related suicides continue to appear in different cultures and times. For some, they are just coincidences explicable by science. For others, evidence of an invisible battle between good and evil. Regardless of belief, one thing is certain: the power of the mind and fear can be overwhelming. So if you or someone close to you is facing negative thoughts or feels that it is being influenced by something dark, seeking professional help and spiritual support may be essential. What do you think? These cases have a rational explanation, or is there something supernatural behind them? Leave your comment.